Younger brother, he's 2 years younger than me. He was always a better athlete of the family. He was always, valedictorian, like wrestler, football. He excelled through all the sports. I was kind of like I was a little more skinnier kid on the skinnier side, so I always got benched a lot for like the football, soccer, baseball teams. And when I came across martial arts at a young age, that's the one thing I excelled at. So I kind of just stuck with martial arts from when I was a little kid, and that was like my passion. I was really good at it, and it was nice to get respect in the gym and in the martial arts gym and stuff, and other areas when I wouldn't get it, on the playing field with all the other kids. So martial arts was my passion as a very little kid. Fell in love with like Bruce Lee and martial arts, the Power Rangers, Ninja Turtles, all that stuff, and just kind of became like an obsession for me. I was doing like Kyokushinkai. I got a brown belt in that, and GSP actually has a black belt in it. It's like a full contact Japanese style. And Kaji Kembo, and I would be sparring at my senseis and stuff and giving them black eyes and everything when I was a teenager, 15, 16 years old. And they would say, man, when you turn 18, we should throw you into the UFC, and so they would play these little UFC DVDs for me back in the day, and that's when like UFC 1, 2, and 3 came out. The guys had their ponytails pulled out of their head, and there was no rules, just total violent sport. And I was like, dude, that's awesome. I would love to do that. And they're like, yeah, you're good. We're when you're 18 years old, we're gonna throw you in that. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And kind of just didn't really think much of it, and I ended up getting in a lot of street fights actually in high school and stuff growing up, just because I was small and I got picked on all through grade school and everything. And I did martial arts, so I was able to defend myself. But I don't know, I was a target for some reason growing up through grade school and then high school, and then high school I started lifting weights and kind of just realizing that I can hit really hard, and I started knocking people out and stuff in street fights. And I never once ever fought anyone that was my size. There was always a guy way bigger than me or multiple guys, so I never believed in like picking on someone or bullies. Like I had a zero tolerance when it came to bullying, just because I got bullied a lot, and I'm getting a lot of respect my junior year in high school for being like a tough kid and like going to parties and then fighting this guy and over here knocking out this town's tough kid. And then there was rumors, oh, could I take this town's tough kid, or what about these two brothers, and I'm knocking both of them out, and just kind of got a name for me whenever I'm out on the weekends. And kind of, I guess I fed off that respect that I got because I never had it growing up. And then my senior year in high school, I was training, didn't really go to the military. I was actually doing like all the prerequisite training for like the Buds Academy to go be a Navy SEAL, and I went to go watch MMA fight up in San Pedro. It was like an illegal underground show. It was like no gloves, and just like really sketchy, freaking like broken glass on the ground, like bums hanging out on the wall and barbed wire. It's a really sketchy scene, I went to go watch this guy, Bal Quach, who later on became a teammate of mine. He was fighting, and he was like a couple years ahead of me at the same high school. And like I heard, oh, Bal was this tough, gangster kid that fought. And I went to go watch this Bal kid fight, and I'm sitting there in the stands. And I remember I had a Corona in one hand and a pack of donuts in the other hand from the liquor store across the street. And it was my breakfast, And I had like a shiner for getting in a street fight the night before. And the promoter comes up to me and goes, hey, how much do you weigh? I'm like, I don't know, about 50, about 45, whatever. He's like, do you look like a fighter? He's like, someone dropped out your weight class. Would you like to fight today? I was like, what? I was like, my friend's like, dude, do it, fucking do it. You have nothing to lose, whatever. Just, I'm like, all right. I'm like, all right, yeah, sure, I'll do it. Either I'll just don't get choked out in the first 10 seconds. I'm like, all right, cool, let's do it, I get all amped up and I go sign the waiver or whatever. And they match me up and I go in there fighting this guy. Older guy's been doing it for a while. I think he was like a purple belt, one of go-karts guy or whatever. And I go in there and the guy almost does choke me out in the first 10 seconds. I remember like the lights going out, looking at my friends, they're all, get out of here, get out of here. I remember I just was like, dude, I'm not gonna go out like this. And I spun, just burst out of it, just full on instinct. I never trained any kind of ground or grappling, and scrambled up to my feet and I'm knocking the guy out with the open hand strike, just like right on the chin, and I knocked him out. And my friends went nuts, hopped the cage, threw me on their shoulders, and like I remember it was such an awesome feeling. Went back to high school the next day, like, what the hell, you got in a cage fight over the weekend? I'm like, yeah, it's cool, So fell in love with the sport instantly right there. The guys invited me to come back and fight next month. Came back and fought, knocked that guy out. Came back the following month, knocked that guy out. And so there's 3 knockouts in a row, and I kind of just, fell in love with the sport and kind of put out the military thing on hold. And my third fight, after knocking that third guy out, Ken Shamrock's dad was there, and they invited me to come fight down at the Lion's Den. We had a little bit more sanctioned amateur MMA fight with gloves and shin pads, but no headgear, just full rules. And I was training with Marco Huas at the time, because I found him. He was a close guy in my gym, and I fell in love with him as a coach. Actually, just came from his gym right now, but I became his first American to get a black belt from him. I even have like Valentudo tattooed on my knuckles. I remember one of the guys in my gyms in Marco's gym came up to me and he's all, we have a fight offer for you. I don't know what you think about it, but I'm gonna throw it out there. He's like, it's against Little Evil, Jens Pulver, the UFC champ, just beat BJ. He's #1 in the world. I'm like, fuck yeah, dude. I didn't even hesitate. I'm like, dude, awesome. Like, what a chance for me to test myself and to see where I fit in this sport. And I mean, I don't gotta beat him, but even if I do good, I'll know like where I'm at skill wise. So, 19-year-old kid, just like very green, just like. That's all. I told Marcos, I do 100%. You can beat him. You can beat him. Let's do it. And again, that confidence thing he gave me. And I remember I separated my shoulder training for that fight. And I landed on my head and tweaked and popped my AC joint. So I had my arm in a sling up to 2 days before the fight. So I couldn't spar. I couldn't hit pads. I couldn't lift weights. The only thing I could do to train for that fight was plyometrics and kicks. That's it. And in the ring, I remember standing across from him like, oh shit, I just saw this guy fight BJ Penn, 9 months ago. I remember looking up to you like my hero, my idol. I had pictures of him stuck in my thing in jail up on my bunk and everything. And here he is standing across from me. Fuck, let's see what you're made of, Rob. And I went in there and I fought him to a decision, and I ended up losing the decision. Primarily because I didn't have much power in my punches. I didn't get to train for that. I didn't get to hit hard, and I didn't get to do pad work, no bag work, no sparring. So I just was kicking his legs, moving around, head kicks, body kicks, leg kicks, and I skated by and lost it at very close. It was a close decision too, and I feel if I had the proper training, I could have beat him, and that kind of just like cemented my name. Like, okay, this is what I'm doing. I'm gonna say goodbye to the whole military thing. I'm gonna invest all I have into this, and here I am, 32, almost 12 years later, just still doing it. So I've never lost a drop of blood in fighting for 12 years. I've never lost a drop of blood. I've never broken anything. I've been dropped maybe 4 times in my whole life sparring. And BJ Penn was one of them. Kima, that's one of the kickboxers here, dropped me with like a huge high kick to the face because he didn't have a shin pad on, but just dropped me to a knee, and I got up and kept going. It's nothing that knocked me unconscious. The 3 or 4 times I was dropped, I got dropped in that Jens Pulver fight, but I bounced right back up and recovered right away. So I've never had any traumatic anything happen. I remember I've had a couple of concussions younger when I first started training with Marco, because he had me sparring with like Babalu, Sobral, and like Jima and Pedro Hizzo, these guys that were huge heavyweights. I'm this little kid, and they would double up on the shin pads because they were so big, but they would not pull their kicks. Like, I would duck and feel the air go over my head, and a couple of times they kicked me and made contact. So I remember driving home a couple of times, I would forget where I was going, or forget, oh, I'm gonna go to the gym and do biceps, or did I do biceps last night? And then kind of forget, wait, what did I do? And I just like, so my brain got like knocked around back then, but I'm good now. I know your health is #1. I'm all about taking care of your body, and yeah, if it came to that, I'd be able to walk away. But I still haven't had one fight where I'm like proud of, where I can say that's what I'm made out of. I've done a lot of cool things in this sport. I think I have the record for like the 5th fastest knockout in the UFC history. It's like 12 seconds. I've had some banging fights back and forth, but I feel like I'm just scratching the surface of my potential. And once I've left a couple performances in the ring where I show people what I'm made out of, to show all the emotional, everything I've gone through in life, all the training I've done over the years, and get put that on display. Until I do that, I'm not ready to walk away from the sport. I realize now the power of your brain and mental thinking is so important, especially in this sport, and it is in life. So instead of focusing on the negative and like, oh, who does this guy train with? Look at the guys in his corner. Look how good he is. Look how strong he looks. Like, look at him. What if he does this? I completely switched that around and like, wow, look how good I am. Look at my coaches. Look at my corner. Because I really do train with the best guys in the world. Now, instead of watching footage on the guy I fight, I watch footage on me in my fights. I watch footage on me training. I'm like, dude, Rob, you're freaking really that good. You really are that powerful. You're really that good. And it's true, man. BJ Penn hired me to be his sparring partner for 10 months. I was living out in Hawaii, and I've trained with Jose Aldo. I've trained with Anderson Silva. I trained with the best guys in the world, and there's a reason for that. And this guy, I got to have confidence. Every coach I've ever had, every teammate I've ever had, I said, dude, why aren't you the world champion yet? I've had Olympic athletes tell me that I'm the strongest pound-for-pound guy they've ever wrestled or been against, and I have to have that confidence. And so it's definitely a mental connection that I've made recently in my last couple of fights, and that's why I feel like I'm coming on the kind of a rebirth in my career. And once you get to a certain level, or in something that you learn in martial arts, you learn compassion. You learn compassion for other people, and that's the biggest thing, man. There's no room for growth in this sport, or as anyone in life, if they have an ego. I think ego kills everybody, and most guys have an ego. A lot of fighters have egos, unfortunately, but they don't go that far in this sport. They get, they have their little 15 minutes of fame and they're snuffed out. It's the very quiet guys that are constantly students, they're student their whole entire life. Those are the guys that excel in this sport. And that's the one thing I try to remember every day is I pray to God, just keep me humble. I just want to be humble. I'm just a student. And, I can never, I can learn something from, this kid over here. I can learn from something. You can always learn everything every single day. And I just try to stay as humble as possible. And to me, that's a man, just, staying humble and showing compassion for like all of God's creatures. And that's what I try to just do every day, Yeah, training martial arts, definitely, for sure. It teaches you self-respect, just respect for others, respect for life in general. All the coaches I've ever had, they're more like life coaches than anything. They teach me lessons that I take on anywhere in life. Rafael Cordero is a great example of that, just a great man, a great teacher of martial arts, not just fighting, and you learn self-respect, you learn respect for the sport, for yourself, for others. And the lessons that you learn here in the gym, you take with you out in the real world for life. And that's the most cherishable thing I have, that I've learned in all my years of training, is just the life lessons and, the camaraderie you make with your teammates and your coaches. And these become lifelong friends, and the relationships you have, they're deep. You guys, spill blood on the mats, you guys sweat together. It's a very emotional thing. And just, I'm honored. I thank God every day that I get to do this. It's a gift that He gives me. And what I do with that gift is how I say thank you back to Him. So, I don't want to waste a day of them, ever waste a day of my life. I lost my best friend about a month ago, Shane Del Rosario, who was a heavyweight for the UFC. And that's the one thing he taught me was, just to love life and cherish every day you have. Like, this is the season of your life now. We're young enough to where we get to do this. And if you have fear or hold yourself back, man, this window's gonna shut before you know it, and then you're gonna be too old to do anything about it and live with regrets. And that's the biggest thing I'm trying to avoid, is live with regrets. The bullying inspired me, and it still inspires me. It's the one thing that I learned, like, I guess I have a soft spot for people when it comes to, like, them getting beat up or getting picked on just because it happened to me. I had like Tourette syndrome growing up as a kid, and ADHD, and I was like a skinny little kid and kind of like, didn't get any attention from girls or anything. So I got very picked on. I had a rough childhood in that sense. And but still, I loved going home and watching my freaking Ninja Turtles and going to karate practice and like glowing when I was in the gym, dude. I got, I was like, my peers looked up to me. My senseis and masters kind of spoke very highly of me, so I fed off that. And I guess every time when I got jumped or whatever at in the schoolyards, it was a chance for me to practice what I learned in the martial arts gym. And I got jumped. I never did one guy come and fight me one-on-one. Unless the guy was like a big football guy, but normally, like, I'd have guys trying to hold my arms, and like one guy trying to jump kick me. I'm like, oh, I saw this empowering, so I would like move out of the way. That guy would kick his friend, then I'd kick him. Like, just cool, creative stuff. When you're a kid, you have no fear about that stuff, and it was awesome. I just later on in life, I learned that, like, I have zero tolerance. I don't like people getting picked on. To me, they're cowards. I see a big guy trying to pick on a little guy. Well, I've been that little guy. And why is this big guy, if he's so tough, why is he picking on this little guy? Because he's a coward. It's like, okay, test yourself. Why don't you fight this guy? Or why don't you try to? So to me, those guys have always been a target for me. And I even find it to this day, that's why I can't drink or anything. If I'm out at a club or a bar and I'm tough and I'm drinking, and I see some guy that's like all jacked with tattoos, all tough, staring, it's like, it's an immediate challenge to me. And I want to meet that challenge, So it's like, I gotta kind of just don't even go there, because I don't know, I don't like bullies. I don't like people that pick on people. And yeah, I don't know, I guess it's a very humanistic side. For me, that was the main passion that got me into this sport, and is the reason why I still do it, Yeah, man, for any kid going through that stuff, I'd just say, like, man, we all have gifts and talent. God created us with as magnificent beings, that we all have gifts and talents individually that are very personal and individualized for us. So I tell everyone in life, you gotta find what you're passionate about, and make it accessible, and do something with that. And that's the best way to live life. That's the best way you're gonna have the most, like, rich life doing something that you love. And it's gonna help others as long as you're passionate about it, If you can find a way to make money at doing it, like it's going to be the easiest way to live and make money. And it's like your quality of life. I mean, quality of life is the most important thing. And just find something you're passionate about this life, follow it, and your quality of life will be optimized. And yeah, people, I mean, a lot of kids, man, it's so sad you see all these, so bullying is such a big deal right now. You know, kids on the internet, kids bullying kids at grade school, and all these school shootings and everything. And it's like, I think it's important to make people very aware of bullying and how real it is and how devastating it can be on these kids, you know. I mean, these parents send them out. It's almost like the schoolyard is like a battlefield almost. You know, these kids are left to fend for themselves, and kids are vicious, dude. They don't pull any punches verbally when they're making fun of you, when they're saying stuff. They don't pull punches. They'll make fun of you if your family's poor. They'll make fun of you if you got a missing. They'll make fun of you if you got acne on your face, if you have a mental handicap. They don't care. There's no concept of like, wow, I'm really hurting this guy's feelings. So they're scarring these kids. They're scarring these kids' hearts and emotions with these words and stuff they're using. And I would just tell them, dude, the you know, life, the grass is greener. The days get brighter. You know, the current situation is just a current situation. Life is not going to be like that for you forever. And yeah, as long as you just stay positive and you know, life is like a fairy tale. All those people all the bullies, all the people that pick on these kids and that bully these kids, later on in life they'll get theirs. You know, I'm 32 years old. I've seen it come around that you know, karma is a real thing, and life always unfolds that way. It works out. Like, I know a lot of those kids that used to pick on me and bully me, they'll come up and, you know, want to take pictures from me, and they'll try to be my friend or do this and do that. And like the girls that used to give me no time of day are always like, oh my gosh, Rob, like this, and they're just like, no, it's funny, you know. Life has a funny way of working out like that, you know, in favor of you know, the kids that have a hard time. And yeah, dude, I'm just like I said, I'm honored to be here, and you know, that's the one thing I look to do is to give back is the kids that were in my shoes, and just like, you know, stay a student of this whole thing, and just try to be the better man I can be every day, you know, for other people. So.